Good afternoon. Thanks for watching. This is Now on this Aloha Friday. We got Mark in for Ashley yet again, but we want to begin today with new details regarding a police investigation we've been following all morning here at H&N.
That's right. Officials say a man has died following an apparent stabbing in Waiakea early this morning. Casey Lund has the details.
Good afternoon. Police have been interviewing witnesses on scene here all morning long. We'll point you to the address in question. This is 37 Uluvehi Street. This is just off California Avenue, above Lelehua High School and the Trinity Lutheran School here along California Avenue. That, of course, that main drag that comes out of Waiakea town.
Around 3:30 this morning, EMS responded to the scene to find a 69-year-old man with multiple stab wounds. He was pronounced dead shortly after EMTs arrived. Police sources confirmed that an arrest was made later this morning, 32-year-old John Dudois. We spoke to Kyle Klemp, the principal of the nearby Trinity Lutheran School and Church, who says his staff was shaken to hear the news this morning.
My neighbor texted me this morning that there was a stabbing at a house and that the police were on scene, and she was just very surprised to let me know, because we were coming up here. We were actually they were gonna give us a delivery today and come in, and then she gave us this news, and it was a little unnerving.
Principal Klemp says the property this happened at is a halfway house that he and his staff keep an eye on.
We are aware of the house over there, and we've had incidences before, but nothing this severe. So it's a little scary. We get some characters come around every now and then, and we want to be welcoming and make sure everyone's okay. But at the same time, with the school, we got to be careful who comes on campus and everything like that.
According to police sources, a witness at the home saw Dudois standing over the victim with a knife. That witness attempted to keep Dudois at the property until police arrived, but he eventually broke through a door to escape. He was later apprehended by police without further incident. Reporting in Waiakea, I'm Casey Lund for This Is Now.
And our other top story, we've just received the latest COVID infection numbers from the Department of Health. 69 new infections reported today with no new deaths. Nationally, public health officials say they've observed troubling data regarding the hospitalizations of adolescents with COVID-19. Elise Preston explains.
At the Bronx Writing Academy in New York City, help teams pulled out all the stops for parents looking to get their kids vaccinated against COVID-19.
This is amazing what the school doing for the community.
The pop-up site is part of a pilot program now being offered at 4 city schools as the effort to vaccinate more Americans ramps up.
I strongly encourage parents to get their teens vaccinated, as I did mine.
A concerning new CDC report shows the number of adolescents hospitalized with the virus rose last month, and nearly 1/3 required intensive care.
Organizers at this vaccine site in the Bronx say they don't want children to be afraid of getting the vaccine, so they turn the process into a party, celebrating a return to normal for the teens who show up to get the shot.
It's not only about getting a vaccination, it's also getting more information.
Dr. Karen Landers is the Alabama Assistant State Health Officer and says misinformation is driving hesitancy, particularly among young people.
We are concerned that even if we get through this summer with relatively low rates, that we could see an increase in the fall.
President Biden remains focused on states with the lowest vaccination rates in his push to get 70% of Americans partially vaccinated by July 4th.
Everyone needs to get their shots, though. Now's the time to accelerate the process we've been making.
Health officials say efforts to reach more Americans under 18, as well as others in underserved communities, will be key in ending the pandemic. Elise Preston, CBS News, New York.
Well, Honolulu Mayor Rick Blangiardi and City Council Chair Tommy Waters joined us today on Sunrise. They discussed a number of topics. Here's a portion of what they had to say.
You know, we're looking at 2 stabbings in one night in Waikiki, 3 officer-involved shootings over 2 months, that there were home invasion robberies earlier this year. How do we make sure that every tax-paying dollar is spent in the correct way in an agency that seems to be losing a lot of trust in our community?
Well, that's you saying it's losing a lot of trust. I still have great respect for the men and women who sign up and do that job. It's very difficult. And as you know, we're going through a leadership change. Current method. You know, I don't think police presence necessarily would have avoided those stabbings when you look at the circumstances, and it's unfortunate that we've had some of the other shootings that were involved. But I would tell you that we've not cut back on our police department. If anything, we're understaffed, and and so we made it true for all of our first responders in this budget that we're going to completely support them financially, and at the same time now, with leadership, one of my expectations, hopefully, is somebody who can help build a department, improve morale. Quite honestly, we have far too many openings.
Well, speaking of that, Rick, I believe that you had just nominated Larry Ignas to the Police Commission, and I wanted to get your reaction about his testimony, where he basically said that he didn't believe there was any racism that he had seen in his 30 years in Hawaii.
Well, Larry Ignas is a really good man. He's a highly principled man. Came highly recommended. I've known him for some time. I thought the interview process that went on probably put him in his worst light. So let me just say to everybody here that last night I met with Larry and he's withdrawn his consideration. So I think we can move on off of that. He's a good man. He raised 6 kids here over a course of 34 years. Lots of people in the community would stand up for him. But under the circumstances and given where the expectations are, we think it's in the best interest. So Larry has withdrawn his decision.
I know there's a lot of focus on this right now. Any idea who you might nominate next, Mayor?
I would tell you this has not been easy. I've actually been at this since we took office 5 months ago and gone through a number of people in wanting them to serve on the commission. And quite honestly, my intention initially was to have somebody with police experience, and it didn't happen, not locally. And I thought Larry, even though he had been a police officer for 20 years in a different city, at least would bring that perspective. So quite honestly, we're back to the drawing board. I'm convinced, though, there are some really good people. I'm just going to move off of somebody with police experience, and we'll see where it takes us from here.
Okay, Council Chair Waters, I want to talk about homelessness. Obviously, such a huge issue that has been in our community for years now. And it looks like with the rent moratorium ending, there's a lot of concern that this issue could get even more common, I guess I should say, in our community. What are the plans for services and really any kind of safety net for families who may fall into homelessness, who are trying so hard not to?
Well, the city does have a rent relief program, and I'm encouraging everybody to sign up. It's going to be open, the portal will be open on Monday. It's up to $2,500 a month that you could use for your rent or mortgage as well as childcare. The other thing that we did working with the city, we just accepted 312 vouchers, Section 8 vouchers from the federal government. That's free money that doesn't cost our taxpayers anything. Well, it's not free, actually. It's from the United States government, but that's 312 Section 8 vouchers, which is going to go a long way. In addition, in this budget, we put approximately $22 million more money to combat homelessness, to get these folks off the street, to get them mental health treatment and substance abuse treatment that we all know that they need. Anybody who goes walking outside can see that. It's so unfortunate. Like where I live in Waikiki and Waiakea Avenue, we have homeless folks living in our doorways and on our streets. And this $22 million should go a long way towards that.
A busy day for crews at the UH Manoa campus, and demolition begun this morning on Snyder Hall. A near 60-year-old 5-story building is being torn down. It's part of the second phase of the school's mini master plan, and those who use the hall are now in the life sciences building. Also, new turf and a scoreboard is going up at the TC Ching Athletics Complex. The renovations are happening in advance of the Rainbow Warriors football season, which is set to begin in September. More seating and press boxes will also be installed in the coming months.
Partial rides on the rail could begin by the end of the year, but issues still linger. Here's Lacey Denise with the details.
Riders may soon be able to hop on the Honolulu rail for a ride, but it won't be the full route. HART's CEO says a portion of the project could be ready to ride by the end of the year. The so-called interim opening will be from Kapolei to Aloha Stadium. And within that stretch, the guideway, tracks, and stations are already complete. There are still some issues, however. It's unclear how long it will take to resolve faulty crossover tracks known as frogs, which are forcing the trains to slow down. HART CEO Lori Kahikina says a third-party expert is helping work out the crossover issues, and they're hopeful the trains will be up and running within their projected time frame. In the meantime, the Rail Authority will continue testing cars and tracks. For This Is Now, I'm Lacey Denise.
Details on the state's vaccine incentive program will be revealed in just a short time at a press conference at 1 p.m. The campaign comes with gifts from Hawaii's private sector. Restaurants and retailers statewide will participate in the push to get more vaccinated. A website has already been set up. It will soon reveal prizes, discounts, and deals for those who are considering the vaccine or who have already gotten their shots.
The attorney for the family of a teenager fatally shot by police says medical records show he was killed by shots from behind. Rick Daysog reports.
After he was shot by a police officer after a high-speed chase, 16-year-old Ira member Sycap was taken to Queens Medical Center. Records from the hospital documented his wounds, indicating that he died from a gunshot to the back of the head. The report also shows 2 wounds in his right shoulder and 1 in his left shoulder.
It further reinforces our concerns that this wasn't a justifiable use of force at all. This was an execution.
The report is not the official autopsy, which the city has not released. The report also does not say who delivered the fatal blow that killed Sycap. Police body camera obtained by Hawaii News Now is also unclear. That video shows one of the officers shooting 10 rounds into the back of the car. Then Police Chief Susan Ballard said a total of 3 officers fired their weapons. Attorney Eric Seitz has filed a wrongful death lawsuit against the HPD. He says the medical report and the video shows that the shooting was not justified and that the officers should be prosecuted.
Neither one of those officers had any reason to shoot into the car. It was a violation of policy, and they obviously were not in any danger from those vantage points.
Shooting a person in the back, let alone the back of the head, is rarely justified unless the person poses an imminent danger to the public or to other officers.
In this particular incident, the vehicle was not causing an imminent threat to the shooting officer or the shooting officer that was behind the car.
More body cam video might show that the shooting was justified, but the HPD is refusing to release it.
It's suggestive of possible excessive force. When you're shooting someone to the back of the head, how are they a threat to you?
The police department did not respond to questions about the medical findings, citing the pending investigation. Rick Daysog, Hawaii News Now.
All right, Rick and our H&N investigative team is going to stay on top of that story for sure. We want to switch gears now to weather, take you live outside, looking over the state capitol. I just checked the temperature. It's 83 degrees out there. Let's see how the weekend's shaping up. Here's Guy Hockey.
Hope you're having a great Aloha Friday. Things are looking good today into the weekend. There are a few showers, however, moving into those windward areas of Kauai and Oahu. These are remnants from an old front that's moving out towards the west. So drier conditions will move into Oahu by the afternoon time. And we won't see a whole lot of rain except for a few windward and Mauka splashes for the east end of the state. And those trade winds, they'll be running brisk and breezy today, so humidity level is not an issue. We're expecting lots of sunshine, a little bit of shower activity this morning for Kauai and Oahu, and the UV index is going to be extreme today at 12. Those winds stepping up to 15 to 20, and that means look for increasing trade wind swells over the weekend. Not so much today, but over the weekend should be getting bigger for the east shores. South shore is getting a little pulse today, but heads up because there's going to be also box jellyfish likely swimming in through tomorrow. So we're in for a beautiful run of weather. A little damp today for Kauai and Oahu early, drier in the afternoon, and then drier conditions moving in for the weekend, although there will be a few minor splashes coming in from time to time, mainly for those windward and Mauka neighborhoods, and those winds will get stronger from tomorrow through Tuesday. Keep it here in Hawaii News Now. We'll have all your severe weather updates.
June is Pride Month across the country. The pandemic, though, is again making this year's celebrations very different.
Come on, George, let's look at these tiny floats.
Last year's Honolulu Pride was tiny, literally. Handmade tiny pride floats took to a virtual street to celebrate the LGBTQ+ community.
We definitely missed the crowds.
As the national celebration of Pride Month continues throughout June, partners, co-producers, and Scarlet headline performers Guillermo Sanchez and Jason Victorino shared their eagerness to return to the stage.
We miss the people that used to come to the club and ask for pictures, and they like their costumes, and they never seen things like, you know, what you usually see when you go to the club like Scarlet. You know, that also in the LGBT community, we tend to have to create our own families. a lot of us are not accepted by our own families. So we create our own aunts and our own, sort of like houses. That's what they call it now, but it's our family.
The couple said the Pride celebrations in Hawaii bring the tight-knit communities together from across the globe, and explained that the state's unpredictable reopening strategy makes planning difficult.
2019, we organized the HIV and AIDS Foundation's fundraiser, and we raised over $10,000 for the foundation on one night. So just go further than what people think when they see, oh, we want Scarlet to be open because we want to party, or we just want to be, back in the streets and just having a good time. But it is deeper than that.
Hello, we have rainbows on our license plates and on our driver's licenses, and who doesn't want to celebrate here?
Now, if you're wondering why Honolulu's Pride takes place in October, Hawaii Legacy Foundation's Francine Beppu has the answer.
October is a great month to celebrate Pride. First off, we're not competing with all the Prides, around the world in June. So, of course, it's a shoulder season, so there's more inventory and accessibility. October, it's actually LGBTQ History Month, National Coming Out Day, and Spirit Day as well.
She said Honolulu Pride has grown exponentially over the last years. In pre-pandemic 2019, the Honolulu Pride Parade became the largest parade in the state, with over 30,000 attendees. These growing community numbers are also being reflected in businesses.
More of our employees come out to participate in our various Pride events than actually any other event that we do in the community.
Daniel Chin with Alaska Air says his company has been partnering with LGBTQ+ organizations for over a decade. They offer flights and information to Pride events throughout the year from Palm Springs to Portland. The company says their Pride planning is a group effort.
One of the things that we rely on is our business resource groups. So these are our employee groups that come together around a particular grouping. So for instance, for LGBTQ+, we have our Globe group, and they really help us to figure out which events we should be doing across the network, how we should show up, what's important within the space in which we're operating in, so that we do show up authentically.
While it's not entirely clear how Honolulu Pride in October will shape up, all remain optimistic.
We're hoping that they would eventually be open, especially for October, but definitely it's in the hands of the governor right now.
But despite the unknown, the thing that stays constant is the love in the community.
I feel the vibe differently here by participating in Hawaii's every year is that sense of ohana and family. When we go to the Waikiki Shell, we pretty much all know each other. So it's very tight. It's a very tight community. We all take care of each other. We all protect each other. So that's, I would say, what is very different.
To learn more about how to celebrate Pride this month here in the state, just head to our H&N digital platforms.
Well, the Sheraton Waikiki is celebrating its 50th birthday today. Billy V takes us to the iconic hotel.
Down here in Waikiki, there's a lot of things that are new. New visitors, new wall here, new wall at the groin, new sand on the beach. But one thing is classic. 50 years ago on this date, the Sheraton Waikiki opened on an Aloha Friday. We talked story with John Grogan, who is the general manager that was there on opening day.
I was here, was at the Royal at that time, and we used to come in here and park our cars and had lots of room to space. We didn't have to worry about having a place for your car to be parked. So this was all open land.
Talk about how happy you are to be here on the 50th anniversary.
Well, what a thrill. It was an exciting day when the Sheraton Waikiki opened. It was in the middle of a recession, and 4 other hotels that opened at the same time, so there really wasn't very much business at that time. In fact, it reminded me of the times during the pandemic when Sheraton Waikiki and other hotels were closed or had very little business. So it was not a time of prosperity, but there was such excitement about this hotel, which is the largest hotel that had been built in Hawaii at that time.
But how is Sheraton Waikiki today? We checked in with area manager for Kyoya Hotels, Tom Colomé, to find out.
We have about 70% occupancy at the moment, so we're very happy with that. We had expected that to come maybe a little later in the summer, but it ramped up pretty quick.
And by the way, there are positions open here at the Sheraton Waikiki Hotel in different areas, both front of house and back of house, as they continue to reopen to visitors and Kama'aina. From Waikiki, I'm Billy V for This Is Now.
Thank you, Billy, very much. So, just in time for summer, guys, there is a new attraction there in California.
There we go.
We're talking about Disney's California Adventure Park, and guess who they are welcoming? The Avengers Campus is now open. So you can get really lost in the world by training with Doctor Strange himself. They have an exhibit there about that, and even an interactive Spider-Man adventure. This comes just days before California loosens up its pandemic restrictions. Never been to that park before.
Yeah, and I hear that the park also includes shawarma, which was what the Avengers feasted on after one of their battles. That's just worth the price of admission right there. Very cool. Now, in our other story, a South Korean designer has developed a solution for the smartphone zombies. Now, smartphone zombies are the people who can't look up from their phones while walking. The designer created a robotic eyeball called the Third Eye, and it beeps when the user comes within 6 feet of an obstacle, and it's strapped to their foreheads. So
bizarre.
Yeah, this really is amazing. Now, he says it's not a solution for smartphone addicts, and people must not be reliant. Instead, he hopes people will recognize the severity of their gadget addiction if they need something like this.
I recognize. All right, so this year's Kennedy Center's honor is also going to look very different. We got Deborah Alfarone with a great preview of what you can expect.
The 43rd Kennedy Center Honors is stepping out, as in outside, for a reimagined performance due to the pandemic. This year's honorees: choreographer and actress Debbie Allen, singer-songwriter activist Joan Baez, country singing superstar Garth Brooks, world-class violinist Midori, and lovable, now 95-year-old actor Dick Van Dyke.
I keep waiting for somebody to call and say, we made a mistake.
Dancer Derek Huff previously shared a stage with Van Dyke.
We're doing sort of the classic, step ball change, and his knees were easily 2 feet higher than mine were.
Honoree Debbie Allen also gets a high-energy tribute.
This honor is so important because it reflects the need for everyone to have the arts in their lives. This was seismic.
Honoree Joan Baez was an early influence for country folk artist Rhiannon Giddens.
One of her songs was one of the first things I ever played on the banjo.
Another change this year, the president's involvement. In years past, former President Trump didn't attend nor hold a reception. This year, President Biden returned to the tradition.
I got to sit out there in the crowd, stand up, sing along.
Wasn't I the king? Grammy Award winner Kelly Clarkson brought honoree Garth Brooks to tears.
I was performing and there were people in the seats, not on screens.
As we embark on this recovery, we can always bring music into the forefront.
Honoree Midori says the performing arts connect us all. Deborah Alfarone, CBS News, Washington.
And just a reminder, the Kennedy Center Honors airs this Sunday on CBS. That's KGMB. That's going to do it for this Aloha Friday. You guys have a great weekend.